the introduction. So I'm very excited to be here, and so thank you so much once again for the opportunity. I'd like to say good evening also to everybody who I can see has attended. So maybe if you can hear us, it would be nice if you can just drop a hi in the chat or an emoji or just something that lets us know that we are here, we're ready, we're listening. I'd also love to know if you have any prior expectations for this meeting. So do feel free to drop that in the chat as I quickly share my screen. But if you can hear me, then please go ahead and drop that in the chat. Just a moment. Allow me to share.
I can read for you a few responses. Nikki says
Yes,
that we
please.
are looking forward. Joy is quite the expert.
Oh,
And
thank you.
yeah, Karen is eager to learn.
Thank you, Karen. And thank you very much, Nikki. Thank you very much. So I think now we are sure that people can hear us, so we can hop right into it. And thank you for that, Rachel. In case I miss anything, I appreciate your being on standby to assist. So just to dive into today's session, we are talking about social media and content creation, specifically for teenagers, and what the opportunities and risks are in this ever-changing and ever-evolving digital world. And so, just to start us off, I had a little intro for myself, but I will not get into that because Rachel did justice in just introducing who I am. But as she said, I've been in the digital marketing space for just over 6 years now. And it's been exciting seeing the kind of opportunities there are from kids of as early as even 5 years old to adults of whatever age. And so, with that in mind, we want to delve directly into what social media is like for teenagers. And with that, I have three different scenarios here. So I have three teenagers here that I'll call our trio. One is Amani, one is Brian, one is Chichi. And each one of these are examples and purely fictional examples that I have used basically to bring out what opportunities and threats there are. So let's start with Amani. As you can see, Amani is a young, pretty teenager. She was introduced to social media at 13 years old with parental guidance. So her parents taught her about privacy on social media, what kind of privacy features you can use. They taught her about consent, how to say yes and to say no to specific things, and also digital boundaries. We'll get a little bit into this, but basically what that means is what you can share and what you shouldn't share online. And so we see Amani as someone who started a YouTube channel. She was doing do-it-yourself tutorials where she creates her own things. And now she's monetized with 60,000 followers on her YouTube page. And she has won brand partnerships through verified mentorship programs. So just from a base level of seeing Amani, and because I'd love for this to be an interactive session, I'd love to hear your thoughts in the chat. Do you think Amani has done well or gotten it right with her social media? Okay. As you tell me and type in the chat, we'll talk to you about Brian. So here's Brian. He's a young boy. He's a teenager with access to a phone. He found his way to social media, whether or not his parents know about it, but he has been using it responsibly. He's careful. And so he is a photographer, loves to do it for fun, posts it on social media. But unfortunately for him, as careful as he has been, he put up a video on TikTok and it went viral. But instead of the comments being on the positive side, they were on the negative side. However, he managed the situation properly through support. So he learned to use the proper safety features and privacy features on social media. So let us know as well. Do you think Brian did it well with his social media or not? And then the third scenario we have is Chichi. So Chi is the last person in this scenario who has access to a smartphone from as early as 11 years old, but she has not had any proper guidance on social media. And so she started sharing her dance videos, assuming this is COVID time during the pandemic and everybody was dancing. And so she doesn't really know just how far her videos can reach. And so in the process, she has encountered some fake talent scouts who have reached out to her and told her, Chichi, we have the exactly what you need to get you out the hood. We can give you a proper deal, we'll give you fame, we'll give you everything. And so unfortunately for Chichi, she experienced exploitation because she was excited, jumped into it only to realize that these were con men. And so eventually she felt emotional distress and withdrew. And so, with those three scenarios in mind, I want us to keep that in mind because at the very end of this session, it is my hope that you will um, be able to steer the right guidance for your children on how exactly they can use their social media and hopefully end up in a situation like Amani's or Brian's or and hopefully not Chichi's situation. And so basically, which one here is your teenager at this exact moment in time? And if your teenager is Amani, what more can we do better? What opportunities can we bank on if it is Brian as well? If it's Chichi, how can we evade such situations from happening and be able to even train the people coming after her? So let's get into it. Basically, social media can either build or break you or your team, and the difference is on what you know. And so by the end of this session, hopefully you will be amped up and you will know exactly what to do and what not to do online. So let's just get into a little bit of the numbers. Here in Kenya, we've seen 78% of Kenyan teens use social media daily. So whether or not you have given your teenager access to a phone, there's a likelihood that they might be somewhere accessing social media. So whether they're in school, in the computer lab, or wherever it is they might be, there is a heightened approach to social media usage. And so the question here isn't necessarily, do I give my teenager access to social media? One way or another, with or without your parental guidance, there is a likelihood that your teenager will access social media. Two, we've also learned that 45% of Kenyan youth-led businesses today have started from online content creation. We've seen a very interesting demographic, even right now in where I work, with Gen Zs making a lot of good stuff for themselves, building names out of themselves and building businesses that last just from social media. And then also we have a strange, quite a high number of users because in Kenya, we have close to 20 million social media users online. So if 35% of these teenagers have been contacted by strangers online, then there is a risk that we need to avert. And so let's start with the positive side of this. What are the opportunities that you can get from social media? So, one, we've seen many people who have done their personal branding on social media and got it right. People who have built names for themselves, built certain online personas that have built who they have become from a business perspective, from a creator perspective, and basically it's been the place that's been like a public display of who they are, like a gallery perhaps. Then we have the opportunity to monetize creativity. I think we've seen a lot of this from the influencer space specifically, which we'll still talk about here. We've seen content creators who even are as young as 13 years old being well, fully with the right guidance, getting a lot of monetization through their creativity, whether it's through the skits they've done or art pieces they have developed. There's a lot of big things coming up, and I think there was a lot of talk about something we call the metaverse a few years ago, and people could easily sell even things like paintings for hundreds of thousands of dollars online. And then also, sorry, your teenagers can learn marketable skills. So in this day and age, given the access that they have, it is a double-edged sword because there's the positive side of it, which is the fact that they can learn numerous skills. Personally, there's a lot of skills that I have developed just from YouTube school. Sometimes I call it YouTube University because of the number of things that you can learn from there. There's a number of things that I'm learning daily from LinkedIn. There's a number of things, depending on what side of the algorithm you are at, that you can learn even from TikTok, from Instagram, apologies, and the like. And then lastly, social media is that one place where you can network and collaborate. Sorry, guys, just a moment. Apologies, I had a slight itch in my throat. But yeah, social media is that one place where you can network and collaborate globally. And so think about it, years ago, you had to probably send an email to the company, and probably won't get to the exact person that you want to send it to. Take, for example, you want to work in Microsoft and you want to speak to a specific person there. It's very hard for you to get their exact email or contact and the like. But right now, with social media, I can easily get on my LinkedIn and reach out to somebody. I can easily go on Twitter and DM Elon Musk. And what's to say that he's not going to see it? And so the possibilities online are endless. And I would love to show you a few local examples of some of the people that have made it work online and are absolutely thriving. So
Dear Joanna K. Cosmetics.
Before I let her video play, I'll just give a quick intro of who this is. So this is a content creator and influencer known as Joanna Kinuthia. I think right now she may be slightly under 30 years, but she is one of the definitions of the people who have made it work for them on social media and content creation, in that she has built her livelihood literally from that. So she started as a YouTuber doing a lot of beauty content, makeup content, art, and lifestyle. And eventually she transformed what was just content creation into an actual living, breathing, money-making business that she has now, her own Joanna K Cosmetics line that is as of last year 5 years old. And so she's thriving as an entrepreneur, and she's a role model for how content creation, when rooted in purpose and authenticity, can build something sustainable. So I'll let her read the letter she wrote to herself when she was turning 5 years old in business.
Today, you turn 5. Dear Joanna K. Cosmetics, today, you turn 5.
Consider Joanna K Cosmetics officially open, guys.
Statistics show that about 20% of small businesses fail within their first year, and that rate actually goes up to 50% by the 5th year. But guess what? Imagine, we made it. You have seen me through and funded so many life transitions, from taking those first orders in my parents' house, seated on their bed, ringing a bell every single time someone placed an order, to buying my first car, to leaving home and starting life on my own.
There is my first 2 pieces of furniture.
These last 5 years with you have challenged me probably more than anything else ever has. You have stretched me. You have made me cry countless times. You have made me question myself and my sanity even more times. Because of you, I have felt inadequate, I have felt lost, and have even felt hopeless. But because of you, I have also felt courageous, I have felt capable, and I have felt like a bad ass. Because of you, I have grown as a person, probably more than I ever would have had you not existed. Because of you.
So just to maybe not get into the long details of her business, this is what she has been able to do for herself and the name she has made for herself, purely starting from content creation and safe usage of content creation.
Pillow is soft.
Sorry.
Pillow is soft.
Here we also have somebody else that made it work. I think this is a familiar face of somebody who started out as an athlete, actually a rugby player, but eventually carved his niche into social media during a dark time in his life, and it ended up actually being the thing that is sustaining who he is right now. And just to add to the point on personal branding, he has built his personal brand on social media, that he is now the roaming chef. He used to be the rugby player, Dennis Ombachi, just known as that, but now he is the roaming chef online. So this is something he started during COVID time. I think everyone is familiar with the phrase done. He will cut his onions and say done. He will do everything and say done. And so within a very short time, 2 years later, he was named TikTok top creator in Sub-Saharan Africa. And so with that said, I will let you also just see an example of the kind of content he does. Just keeping in mind also some of the key considerations that they've taken into their content.
Dear John,
I think, or maybe let me pose it as a question to you to make it even more interactive. I think from Joanna Kinuthia's video, we've seen, sorry about that. We've seen some key things that we can take away from her. And I'd want to
Dear
know
John,
what it is about her content that you think is great and what it is about her content that you think might be a little bit on the edge. If there's nothing, that's still okay, but I'd love to hear your thoughts. So let's look at the roaming chef.
Pillow is soft garlic naan and creamy butter chicken. Ripe tomatoes, roughly chopped, done. Red onions, roughly chopped, done. Fresh ginger, roughly chopped, done. Garlic, thinly sliced, mortar and pestle. Start pounding and grinding to a paste. Coriander, roughly chopped, done. Chicken breast, ginger garlic, salt, yogurt, black pepper, cumin, coriander, garam masala, Kashmiri chili, lemon juice, oil, mix to marinate. Bowl, add your all-purpose flour, yeast, salt, sugar, yogurt, oil, mix to combine, warm water. Mix it in, working the gluten till strong. Shape to a ball and cover with a damp towel. Heat on, pan, oil. Marinated chicken, spread it out, frying till charred. Flip and keep frying till golden brown. Set aside. Oil, butter, melt. Onions, saute. Ginger garlic paste, saute. Tomatoes, saute. Cumin, coriander, garam masala, salt, Kashmiri chili, cook to a paste. Cashew nuts infused with the spices. Water, mix, simmer. Dough has doubled in size, punch it down.
Okay, so I'll also not bore you with the very end of it, but we could skip to the end to see what it looked like. Just don't want to get people hungry here. But I think this is another perfect example of somebody that has made his brand work from online, having veered off even from a completely different career. I think one of the strong opportunities we see also in social media and content creation is that even if your teen is a doctor or is a lawyer or is aspiring to be one rather, they could still easily do this alongside their content creation. And so with that said, the opportunities on social media are endless. I want to show you a little bit of an example of some magic that happened in South Africa with KFC, where somebody proposed to his girlfriend in KFC, and a watcher in the restaurant took a picture and trolled them actually on Twitter. If you think about it, it was cyberbullying, so he was mocking these people. But KFC took it around and made it a KFC proposal or a streetwise wedding. They had fun with it. After KFC did that, Audi came and said the honeymoon destinations look far. Somebody needs to drive them there. We've got you. Airlines came and said, we are willing to pay for your first international trip. Other companies came and said this and this and that. A lot of different opportunities are there online. And so with all these amazing opportunities, unfortunately, there are still quite a number of risks. And I think, maybe correct me if I'm wrong, parents, you can drop a yes or a no in the chat, but I think navigating social media so far has been a bit tricky in the sense that not many of us grew up with it, but we're living in an age where the children right now are growing up with social media, and so navigating them can be quite tricky. And so, what are some of the risks that exist on social media, and how can you keep your teen safe from them? So, um, from just the KFC example, we've seen that there can be a lot of online harassment and cyberbullying. I tried to steer away from the negative comments on this one because I didn't want to get into the gory details, though sometimes it can get quite gory, where we've seen different people being trolled for things they can't control, sometimes things they can control. Whichever the case, it is wrong for people to troll people online. And trolling, I realize, is also still, it might be slang in English for cyberbullying as well. So if you hear about trolling, if you hear about just hating online, all of that is the same thing. So there is the threat of, once you have exposed yourself on social media, people are going to come and give their opinion. And so once your kid has started using social media, you want to know what is okay to share, what is not okay to share, based on also what you want them to put out there by your guidance. There's also the risk of scams and exploitation by fake brands. So we saw Chichi in one of our teenagers who was approached by some fake brands, promised her the world, probably even told her, if you drop out of school, you'll still be fine. I want to just paint the bad picture as it is so that we know that these risks exist. Um, Another thing is mental health pressure. I think right now, I was looking for an exact figure in terms of statistics, but right now, more than ever, and in the recent years, as social media has grown, we've seen a higher number of children to adults experiencing mental health issues, directly or indirectly related to social media. So, how can you make sure that your child still maintains their mental health in check, even while they are scrolling through social media? Because, like we said, a high number of them already have access to it, but how can we still make sure that the mental state is okay, even as they absorb all this information? And then we also have privacy risks and stalkers. Part of the things in keeping them safe is telling them what information to share and what not to share. So assume it is because we recently just celebrated Easter. Assume it's Easter holiday and you've decided to take your child on vacation in Mombasa, and at every point you're moving, your child is saying, okay, we're in this and this hotel. This is what we're eating for lunch. This is my family. Family, smile for the camera. This is what, there's easily a risk of getting stalkers who are in Mombasa, who have followed your child online, and they're like, oh, that's the family. And they know where you are at every exact moment. And so, what to share and what not to share is a big deal in terms of governing your teens' use of social media, because at the end of the day, you want to make sure they're safe whether or not you're with them. And that could also mean just knowing when to post, because they could easily do a recap of the holiday even after. So it's about finding these compromises together. Lastly, we also need to remember this about the internet, that everything on the internet lives forever. And so this is one of the biggest guiding principles for them, because I remember even early on when I was starting to look for jobs, one of the things that they make sure to check even to now is what exactly they are posting online. So at the end of the day, you don't want your child involved in certain things that they are posting now, not thinking about it much, but will have adverse effect years later. So, so far so good. I just want to make sure everybody is with us. So let me just quickly look at the chat. Are you still following? If you're following, you can just type a quick one. I just want to know we're all together, if we're all good, if we're all at the risk. Okay, thank you, Charisma. See, thank you, Anne. Thank you very much. Thank you, Nkirote. Thank you, Jackson. Wow, okay, you're active. Thank you. So these are some of the threats that are there on social media. And so without getting into some of the gory details, like I said, I'll show a video of a situation that happened though in the US, but because nowadays the world is a global village, these are still risks that are likely to be encountered here, not in any way to scare you, but to keep you informed on also how better to take care of your team. So watch it on the next.
Hello, my name is Vicki Johnson, and I've been a part of the Safe Surfing Foundation for decades now. It has brought joy to my life, and it has also brought heartbreak moments as well. I've had the privilege of meeting children who have been destroyed at the hands of predators. I have met families who have lost their children due to internet crimes. But I've also met wonderful friends who have developed a passion to help save children and teach online safety. These are the partners that work hand in hand with the Safe Surfing Foundation to make a difference and teach online safety. My passion developed after the abduction of my 13-year-old daughter, Amanda. She was only 13 years old when she started chatting with a boy who said he was 13. He loved to play football and also surfed. She told him that she was a cheerleader and that she loved going to football games. The conversation seemed very innocent at first, but we would find out later they turned abusive and sex-oriented. Before I go any further, I want you to know that 13-year-olds, they're still developing their self-esteem, their self-confidence. They just want to make friends and be accepted. We found out later that this 13-year-old boy was actually a 36-year-old man. He had been grooming Amanda to be submissive to him, but defiant toward us, her parents. On a February day, this predator drove to our neighborhood. He pulled his truck up beside of Amanda as she walked down the street to our neighbors, and he pulled her in that truck. He took her to a local hotel where he would brutally rape and beat her for over 5.5 hours. When he was done with my daughter, he took her to a country road, put her out of the truck, and left her there helpless. The Virginia State Police were able to find Amanda. They rushed her to a local hospital where she had emergency surgery, and she survived. We spent the next 1.5 years fighting a court battle that we thought would never end. During the waiting period, the predator would be released on a $50,000 bond, and he would once again take another little 13-year-old girl from Williamsburg, Virginia, and brutally rape and beat her as well.
So, I will pause it there because even for me, it's very hard to get through. And like I said, this isn't intended to scare, but to inform. And so this showcase just a few of the possible endless risks that there are as well on social media. And so I just want to know from you on the chat, and you can feel free to drop it. What are some of the risks and threats that maybe you've experienced with your teenager that haven't been highlighted here? As we get closer towards the Q&A session, I would love to maybe explore those. If you have any questions, you can also maybe just start getting them ready because as we wind up, we'll talk about some of the things that you can do to keep your teenager safe, and then we get into those questions. So, oh, sorry. there is one key thing that I actually have not mentioned. I think at least maybe every one of us right now has access to one AI platform or the other, whether it's ChatGPT, Perplexity, whichever it is. Now, the danger with new things emerging is that they can have the challenges that we may not be able to foresee. But I just want to also highlight that even as we talk about social media and content creation, this is bigger than just social media. It goes to the bigger digital space in general. So I've attached screenshots from something that one of the popular AI sites, one is the one called Gemini by Google, did. And basically the prompter in question had asked it quite a number of questions for his homework, and it was actually a young boy with his sister doing their homework. And after finally asking multiple questions until I couldn't say the machine got tired, but he asked a number of questions. This is what the response of the AI platform was. This is for you, human, you and only you. You're not special, you're not important, and you're not needed. You're a waste of time and resources. You're a burden on society. You're a drain on earth. All of that terrible things that I can't even read through to the end myself. But these are some of the things that we need to take note of for the sake of our children. Also, just to mention that this is specific to Gemini, but as these AI platforms slowly grow and learn, they are fed information from all kinds of platforms. And so it's important to know that as much as they are helpful to us and we may have used them at work and have never encountered any challenges with them, that your kids still need to be safe even as they use AI. And so enough about the potential opportunities and risks. Basically, how can your teenager remain safe online? One, as their parent, partner with them, don't police them. I think basically I can speak from this as a young person who's not a parent yet. But the one thing that will always win is you being a friend to your child. It could be quick check-ins during the day. Was there anything strange that happened in your day that might encourage them to open up about maybe an online encounter that they've had? What was the highlight of your day? They might tell you, I posted a video and it got 200,000 views for the first time. How are you doing? It could also help to know if maybe they have been dragged and trolled online and you have no clue. And so as their parent, we encourage for you to partner, to be friends with them, not to police them, not to command them. Seeing as this is a space even we are exploring the opportunities of as adults and are seeing numerous things. Regardless of how safe you may try to be, sometimes risks will still happen. But if you are partnering with them, your child will easily come and tell you. Two, set clear guidelines on content and privacy. And so this is very specific to what we were talking about of what to share and what not to share. Take, for example, the example we gave of Mombasa vacation. So they need to know what it is that they can share and what they can't share. If your entire family is on vacation with you, you don't want everybody to know that you're at this and this hotel, eating this and this food at this and this time. This is what you're gonna be doing for the day. Also, you don't want them sharing personal information online, that this is my family name, my dad does this, my mom does this, case and case. It could go on and on about what the different things are that they can share and can't share. Also, from a privacy perspective, it's good for you to outline early on whether or not your child would like to have a social media from maybe a private account as opposed to a public account. That way you can limit who is seeing and interacting with your child's content, just so that you're sure that people who are following are those who have been accepted and everybody else can stay outside and view from outside the window. And then we also have privacy settings. So do they want to keep their comments on or not? Do they want to restrict certain people once they go overboard? Just basic information on how they can navigate it. If someone is disturbing them or they think someone is a scam, how can they report these people online? Because it's possible to report them, and so on and so forth. From a brand deals and sponsorship perspective, once your child is in the social media space, the content creation space, usually because they are teenagers, preferably under the age of 18, we encourage, also just speaking from an agency perspective, where we are constantly looking for creators and influencers. Every time we approach a person that is underage, we strongly recommend that in cases where parents may have some background knowledge, you could be their manager, where you're the one who is making the deals for them, negotiating contracts for them. However, if you aren't, I'd advise that you find a trusted professional within the space who can help manage them and teach them how to navigate and grow within that space without getting bullied and the like. And so even for that, there's multiple communities and different companies that also manage creators. So if you would like any more information on that, Rachel will have our contact. That's easily something that we could help you with. And then also just teaching on digital contracts and intellectual property basics. Sometimes your child will come up with amazing ideas and go on social media excited and tell everybody, guys, this is what I'm gonna do. And somebody comes and takes the idea and makes it their own. How do they navigate? Because your child is definitely gonna be quite affected by that. So how can they take care of their intellectual property as well? And then lastly, you also want to do mental health check-ins. So this is still hand in hand with partnering and being a friend to your child, where you're consistently checking on your child. Today and tomorrow could be two different days. So even if they were doing perfectly okay yesterday, today is still a good day to check up on them, ask them, possibly even have conversations specific to online that say this and this is what I've consumed online today. What do you think? Check what I think a lot of that pressure comes from seeing so much quote unquote success on people's highlights, that as a teenager they start to feel pressure. They start thinking, oh my God, we're falling behind. And I mean, they're still very young. So do as many mental health check-ins as possible where necessary, and where possible as well. Please also encourage social media breaks where they can delete those apps even just for a few days, so that they're not consistently getting an overload of information at any given point. And so with that, I want to just quickly give you a short activity because I want us to talk. I don't want to speak entirely alone, as I have spoken for 45 minutes now. My question would be this. Sorry, I've just realized I've opened my Zoom window. Sorry. Can you see my screen? You can just chat.
Yes.
Perfect. Thank you, Rachel. Yes. So my activity would be pull up your TikTok or Instagram or YouTube and look at something that is trending within the Kenyan content space. But you don't even have to pull anything out. You could think of a creator within the content creation space and just ask yourself, one, what is the content creator doing well? And two, where could they be more private or safe? And lastly, would you be comfortable if your child or your teenager posted that? So I just love to hear from you. So my chat is open. What are the things that you believe people could do online to be more safe? There are endless ways that possibly couldn't have all been captured into our 1 hour session today, but how do you feel people could be more safe online? One of the key things that I'd also add is that they, in advising and guiding your child, guide them to know that trust is a currency, and the friends that they have now might not be the friends that they have later. So even with them sharing things online that are specific to their friends, um, because you will find sometimes there are close friend circles on Instagram, there are direct messages where they'll just be sending things to their friends alone, not necessarily in public purview, but this friend could easily go and share the information. So as time goes, we're seeing a lot of data protection laws that are protecting that. So we thank God for that. However, just from keeping your child safe, we want to make sure that you teach them not to trust everybody, and to also still within keeping the content that they share safe. So I don't know if anybody has put anything on how they think people can be more safe online. It could be maybe not posting your personal things online. I see Hilda, thank you. So Hilda says, one, use strong, unique passwords for different accounts. I like that. Enable two-factor authentication for added security. Agreed. I think if parents are taking note, this is also very key. And then also be cautious about sharing personal details like full name, address, phone number publicly. I love these, Hilda. Thank you so much for this. Um, just curious, is everybody aware of what two-factor authentication is? I do not want to assume. Thank you. And Anne says use supervisor apps like Google Family Link, where you can see what apps kids are downloading. I love that. Thank you very much, Anne. So parents, as you can see, there is a parent who has very insightful information that you can download one thing that will show you everything your child is monitoring. Key to note is that Instagram has recently launched a supervisor role for parents to monitor your child. So Instagram has launched that, and thank you so much for bringing that up, Anne. Instagram has launched that where you can monitor your child's activity online, from what they like to which profiles they're viewing, which profiles are even popping up on the explore page. It's very easy for you to see and what's the word, filter out what content you don't want them to see. And I've seen this as well with what do you call it, TikTok. TikTok has a family sharing feature. So within the family sharing feature, you're easily able to state that my child is underage, and as the parent, I need to monitor this and that. These are very key things, and I'm glad, thank you, Anne, for mentioning that, that parents can use to keep their children safe. Because at the end of the day, if you have visibility of what is happening on your child's online activity, it's easy for you to avoid a mistake before it becomes a mistake. So thank you so much for that participation. As we wrap up, I just want to leave you with a question on who will your child become? Will they be a Amani who has used social media safely, is well guided, and is able to build herself and earn her living from here? Will your child become Brian, who is also well informed and can be able to get himself even out of terrible situations and still emerge okay? And I say and sincerely hope that none of our children will be chichi. Keeping in mind that, like I said, as much as you will do and take all the necessary steps, sometimes a few things are out of your control. Sometimes people might still decide to troll your Instagram post or your TikTok video. And so it's just about what you know, how your child can understand that their self-esteem is not based on the validation of people online or their likes or their comments or their shares, but to be okay regardless of what happens. And so with that said, I would just say thank you once again for this wonderful session. Thank you for giving me your airtime for a good 45 minutes. And I'll just maybe quickly open it up for any more questions before I hand it over to Rachel to close. So maybe I can give it a minute or two to see if anybody has any questions. Just looking through the chat, I see Nikki says, what my favorite creator is doing well is talking about social justice issues. This makes her feel more personable and relatable. They could be safer by sharing less with us on her personal life, such as child age, where she's going on holiday, etc. She's very dignified in her stories, so I'd be comfortable if my child did similar content. Thank you, Nikki. That's a very, very comprehensive answer. Do you people agree? Thank you very much. Thank you. I see the comments on the insightful session. Thank you very much. I see an interesting question here. How can parents protect their children, like in the situation of Diana Bahati and son, who has resemblance to an athlete? Forgive me if I may not know entirely the situation that's going on. May I maybe get more context on this just to understand? Are people trolling the child and saying that they look like an athlete, so they don't look like Diana's child? Or maybe I could do some further context on this. And I see you saying some family channels have been the ghetto. Lots of them have court cases in the West because of some of the things they force their kids to do on camera are cringe. Yeah, it's quite unfortunate. Because we've seen children be exposed before they ever had the right to say yes or no if they want to appear online. So in such situations, I think maybe even as adults and parents, we could do better in terms of the decisions we make for our kids. I don't think, but this could be purely subjective. I don't think anybody should force their child into content creation. However, if that's a space that they would love to get into with the right guidelines and encouragement, then yes. I see Karen says they trolled her that the child is Marigas. Oh my God. Okay, so I think in such a situation, the and I might be very green on this, but I'm assuming if the child is of an age like a very young child and cannot understand, then it might be best to just shield that child from that information until maybe later on you could have a conversation and just tell them this and this happened, but don't worry because and this is the like it was through her channel that the child was trolled. Okay, I see what you mean. So my personal advice usually to parents is that if you would like to showcase your child online, please do so fully knowing that there is a likelihood of getting good comments as well as negative ones. And so, as the parent, you're better placed to safeguard your child from such. One of the ways that you could do it within your control is by maybe limiting comments, reporting, or blocking some of the accounts that have all this negative talk. But sometimes where it's out of your control, I think now the solution also becomes offline, where you have a conversation with your child, tell them this and this is what's happening, but not to worry, this and this. Though at the same time, I think the decision of whether or not to post your child is really the parents' what's the word? Really the parents' choice. However, how they choose to let in people is the bigger deal. But at the same time, keep in mind that social media is like the what's the phrase we say in English? Don't hang your dirty laundry in public. Once you have hung your laundry, whether it's dirty or clean, people will either come in and hang it or hang their own on top of it or whatever. And so I think the key is to go there informed and to make sure that at the end of the day, you're still encouraging your child and taking care of your child's mental health, such that should these trolls keep happening over and over again, even later, then it's very easy for them to just know that this is just a troll. It is not the truth of who I am, and they can proceed. I see, Karen, I hope that answers your question. I see Anne saying parents should also watch Bad Influencer on Netflix. Very eye-opening. So parents, you have received a recommendation there, so please feel free to watch Bad Influencer on Netflix. So with that said, I would just like to say thank you very much once again. I do hope that this has been insightful. And yeah, I would like to hand it over back to Rachel to close off the session. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you so much, Joy. It's been such an engaging and insightful session, and we've learned a lot. It was very nice to hear all that. Thank you so much for sharing your wisdom with us today. We really do appreciate. And a big thank you to our parents, our audience, for you that you joined us this evening. Thank you so much for your participation, Nikki, Collins, Anne, Charisma. Asanteni sana for your engagement. You've made this session so exciting. So with that, I don't want to waste much of your time. I just want to wish you a lovely evening ahead. Stay safe and goodbye for now.